All right. I'm Dolly. I don't know if you know my story or not, but basically, I just want to start off by saying right now, my husband and I this year are celebrating our 25th anniversary. We have three kids. They are 23, 21, and 17. And 8 years ago, we were filing for divorce, meeting lawyers, doing banking, and I didn't think that we would make it. We got married. I was 23 years old when we got married. We actually met, got engaged 3 months after we met, got married 3 months after that, and had our first child 10 months after that. So it was just this crazy whirlwind. And basically, that's how we continued life for the next 10 years. Within those 10 years, I think we opened up three or four different businesses, plus we both had full time jobs, and we had three kids. Those three kids went on to play several sports. And so 10 years into the marriage, year 10, we had 15 sports teams in a matter of 12 months. So in my world as a 23-year-old who, you know, quit school and became, this mom and then started businesses and everything, I just felt like I had lost myself. That's that's kind of where what I say is my story. I lost myself. I didn't know who I was anymore, and I was a 23-year-old woman going, on 30, whatever it is, and I didn't have a voice anymore. I had no voice. I really didn't feel like I had a proper career. I didn't feel like I had any say, and all I was doing was from the moment I woke up in the morning till the moment I went to sleep at night was racing to my job after dropping three kids off at three different schools, picking them up at three different times, dropping them off at three different sporting events, picking them all back up, racing home, feeding them all supper, cleaning up, homework, everything, and then going to sleep. And so, needless to say, there was a time in my life where I just hit a wall. I was diagnosed with skin cancer, hypothyroidism, battled skin cancer, depression, and I'm still like I'm at this point, you know, 32. I feel young still, and or I'm young, but I felt old. I felt broken, and at this point, I blamed one particular sport, hockey. I blamed hockey because not only was it consuming all of our children's lives, but it was also consuming my husband, who was a hockey coach, a hockey player, a hockey dad, and he had started a hockey academy. So hockey was everywhere. And I used to call it the hockey Bible, like hockey God. Whatever hockey dictated, we had to follow. If there was hockey practice or a hockey game, the kids could miss school, the kids could forego homework, nothing mattered except for hockey. And so I had this deep resentment by the time I was 30 for hockey, which was the one thing that my kids and my husband was so passionate about, and it became my enemy. Um, as my husband and I went through these years, our relationship started to crumble. We were definitely two ships passing at night, not seeing each other, not communicating whatsoever. And I, being the heart of the home and this, young mom, I so badly wanted to keep my family together. But at some point, if you've been there, you're there for the kids. You feel lost, you don't know who you are anymore, and you're staying for the kids because you want them to be in a home. You want them to have their dad and, family life. But all I could feel every day was this resentment. And then with all these health issues, I just felt like I was losing myself every single day. And so in 2015, I just felt like I'm going to make this work. This is going to be the year. This is going to be the year that we're going to be okay. And I did what women do when I start, sacrificing all the things that I want to do and start giving everything and losing myself down this hole even further. And then I get this brilliant idea. Wait a second, I have to be happy. So I swung my pendulum to the other side and I started from going from codependent to independent. And then it was all about me and I'm going to be healthy and I'm going to take care of my body. And I lost all this weight and I started feeling healthy. But both of these, I still wasn't connecting with my husband. I still wasn't present in my home. I still wasn't whole internally, even though I was doing the things that people were telling me to do, like work out and get your body fit and talk to therapists, which is what I was doing on a weekly basis, I still felt so empty because for me, my heart was the home. For me, my heart was my husband. And we were fortunate enough to find somebody that we cared about early on. I actually liked him when we got married. I loved him and I wanted that back. But it had been gone for so long and I didn't know how to get that. And the worst feeling that you can feel that I can remember feeling was wanting so badly to make it work and not knowing how, and that I was doing everything that people were telling me to do. I was going to therapy, I was reading the books, I was doing all that stuff, and everything just kept pushing us further apart, and the advice that was being given to me was dividing us even more, and then I started to become more resentful towards him. Well, the day came. I went to the divorce lawyer, I went to the bank, started getting some money situations ready, and I was ready to confront him and say, "This is enough." In the meantime, there was, lies that had surfaced, a lot of toxic stuff that had gone in our marriage, and so much hurt. So we were both feeling so resentful and so shameful. And any other couple or most couples would just say, "This is enough," and walk away. And the day that I told him that I was done, that I just said, "Here's everything. Here's everything about me, and here's everything I know about you, and I still love you, but I don't wanna be with you anymore." The shift that happened in him in that moment was, I can't really describe it because I can only describe it as supernatural. His He grew up, being bullied. My husband is Chinese, and he is a big guy. He was a chubby little Chinese boy that got bullied and beat up, his younger years, and then he became a bit of a bully when he grew up because he was bullied. And this dominant, controlling, kind of domineering man crumbled, completely crumbled, and was so humbled and ready to work on our marriage. I'm one of the lucky ones. It took years for him to get there and years of trying and begging and trying everything, but in the end, I'm one of the lucky ones because I had a husband that was ready to give it all and try. The next step again is where we had no idea what to do. We went to couples therapy again, and we went to different counselors. It was so frustrating. So that's when I started taking, marriage coaching courses and trying to find out, where did it go wrong? What am I supposed to do? How do you make a marriage work? How do you forgive things that are unforgivable? How do you rebuild trust when somebody's broken it so severely? And is it possible to fall back in love again? And the one thing that I realized as I started going through these courses is that all these years that I was trying, and all these years that I thought that I was sacrificing, and all these years that I was reading books and going to therapy, thinking that I was doing my bit, I realized that I always had this resentment justification of hockey, this resentment towards the years that I felt robbed, that I felt like I sacrificed for hockey. And I realized that it was almost like I had one foot here in the home, but one foot out. I always held on to this little bit of justification for past mistakes and past treatment. And so I was never ever fully in. And so we sat there together. We spent 24 hours together crying and rebuilding our future. We decided exactly what had to go, what could stay, and how we were going to start to manage the rest of our lives. How are we going to rebuild trust and forgive? And in those 24 hours, we discussed everything, every skeleton in the closet, every mistake, every lie, every dream, every fear. And we got to know each other like we had never known each other in the 15 years before. The biggest thing that I wanted to leave you here today was that analogy of one foot out and one foot in. There was a year I moved to BC before I got married, and in BC we would go cliff jumping. And if you haven't ever done it, it's pretty terrifying and amazing at the same time. But you get on your hands and knees sometimes and have to crawl through these little crevices in the mountain, and then you get to the other side and there'd be this drop off. You couldn't see the bottom. And it would only be maybe a 2 or 3 foot jump to the next cliff or the next landing. But that 2 foot jump is over a super deep ravine. And you got to jump to get there, because if you try to step, you can't predict it. 1 foot on this side and 1 foot on the other, you can't go anywhere. You're stuck. You're neither here and you're not there. You're in between. You can't go anywhere. And that analogy just kept playing in my head, like, for all those years, for those years that I was so angry, I had this one foot in resentment and one foot in hope, and I would teeter here and there, here and there. So when we're sitting on that floor together, we 24 hours later, we said, "Jump. We're gonna go all in." And we rebuilt the future of our relationship. And there's this amazing story about this warrior who, he's about to go into battle, and they sail to this land, and they dock their massive ships, and they get off, and they look over and see the army that they're about to battle, and it's 3 times their size. But this great warrior realizes, he knows that his army is stronger, more passionate, more tenacious, and he knows that he can beat that army, but not with them looking at these boats. So he tells his guys, he's like, "Go burn the boats." He didn't want them to have that plan B. He didn't want the option of being able to retreat. He knew the only way to beat this army was to go all in and burn the boats. And so as we're going into the second half of the summit of today, and we're talking about reconnecting, you can't reconnect if you got one foot here and one foot on the other side. You can't reconnect if you're looking at the boats that you can retreat on. If you're looking to reconnect, you gotta jump, make that jump, and go all in. And so I just wanted to leave you with that hope and inspiration that you can go 2 feet in and give everything that you got, and you have the experts here to choose from to find the insight and the steps to help you do that.
Boom.
And I wanna mention, when you're doing it together and when you rebuild that future together, everything is so much better. I
Mhm.
love hockey now. I couldn't appreciate what it has brought to our family more
Yeah.
than I do now. Like, everything changes, the way you communicate, just going in together and figuring that out.